You want to call?
No, he'll show up. All right, we are here for appointment subcommittee meeting. The date is August 6, 2014. Meeting is supposed to start at 5 o'clock, but we delayed it for a few minutes in anticipation for the subcommittee members to arrive. So first on our agenda, I think what I'm first going to do is our city council appointment of Barbara LaBombard. Barbara has served diligently since the beginning of time of the new government of the city council as our city clerk, and she has requested that she be reappointed. So with that being said, I will take unless there's other discussion about it. Okay. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve Barbara Lombard, can I ever say her last name? Lombard, for another, is it 3-year term?
Yep. 3-year term.
City clerk.
Or 2-year term, August 31st, 2016. Okay, and I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I do want to note in the minutes that we are missing Councilor McCoy, so I'm sure he's got some good reason, whatever. He'll be here. All right, so moving on, we have 4 mayoral appointments, and we'll start with the first is Ashley Krause for Conservation Commission. I found her resume on the application to be very thorough, and I'm not.
Sorry, I don't have mine.
That's all right. I'm not one to ever say no, you can't volunteer on a city committee, because that's just not right.
One thing I like about her application, and I think this was very honest and something I really like to see. She simply, I'm at a point where I've made Easthampton my permanent residency, and I'd really like to get more involved in the city, and that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for residents who want to have more involvement, so I am in agreement.
She is passionate from her little letter, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. So I'll entertain a motion that Ashley Krause, Conservation Commission, with her appointment ending on December 31st, 2017.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And James Valancourt for Commission on Disability, another. Hey, Karen, I don't know where you're getting them from, but excellent resume. Registered nurse, executive director for 2 separate treatment facilities. He's already on the housing partnership and also on the continuum of care for the homeless. So I think that with the disabilities, it's a perfect mix.
I do too. And another thing I really appreciate about Jim is that he is one of the only regulars at all the city council meetings.
Yeah, he does like the
rest of everything.
Yeah, he does. He does like to come and visit us. Yeah. So, all right. Well, again, entertain a motion. I'll make the motion this time that James Valancourt, Commission on Disability, term ending December 31st, 2017.
I second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. And our favorite retired counselor, Mr. Cobb, has asked to be put on the Energy Advisory Committee. And again, a plethora of qualifications, not just the 10 years on City Council. I know. Councilor Hagan.
No, I just wanted to ask the mayor, I know this is one of the newest committees. Is it full now, or is it up and functioning? I know it's fairly new, and we only approved this a year or so ago, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. It is fairly new, but it's been up and functioning since before I took office, and I attend all their meetings, and it's very functional. And Mr. Cobb has attended at least the last 2 meetings, and we did a lot of discussion and a lot of preparation. And this last meeting, which was last Thursday, we are getting back into looking at aggregating for electricity and natural gas. Our contracts ended at the end of last year, which we were very excited about. And then because sometimes the last year, the contract, you lose a little money, you make some, you break even, you lose it. Well, as soon as we were out of the contracts, everybody knows what happens in January.
Right.
So January, WIPCO and natural gas went through the roof. So we're entertaining, and we actually, the advisory committee voted on recommendations, and we collected pricing from all different companies, suppliers, and it was a very successul meeting. And he has been very, very involved, and as you know, he's very detailed.
Oh, yes,
So yes, the committee, and as a matter of fact, the other thing is our, I'm sure the counselors are aware of the energy grant, the DOER grant that we just received for the energy for the schools. That was Marin on the Energy Advisory Committee that found the grant, instituted the grant, did the scope of the work of the grant. I mean, without him, it would not have happened. I can say pretty much single-handedly, instituted that. Yeah.
Is that the grant that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say, is that the grant that started at the school committee meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The budget, yes, that budget meeting.
Okay.
Yes, that's where it
It's
started.
nice to see it.
Yes, it is nice to see it. And it'll be great. So we received, a major portion of the request. So I went to Ashland for the award.
Right.
So,
All right.
yeah, very, very productive committee, to make a long story short. Sorry about that.
No, that's
Yeah.
good.
No, I think even from what you've indicated, that Justin's going to be the perfect fit for the committee. So, anyways, your turn.
My only concern about Justin Cobb is that when I was campaigning and was talking with him, he said he had immediate plans to move to Arizona. And I'm just wondering what the effect would be on the committee if next month he decided to make that move.
Well,
That's a great question.
yeah, and I don't think that they're moving to Arizona full-time. It's only going to be
Right.
maybe a couple months out of the year,
And he's new to the committee, and they've been
Right.
functioning since before him, and he has not had voting. Like I said, he was at the last two meetings, but they already have a quorum without him, and he has not had voting authority because he's not a full member, nor did I appoint him temporarily. So, his plans are to, at this point, to be in the area.
yeah.
Okay.
And
And I know, that certainly wouldn't be a reason to say you can never volunteer because we could all potentially move, but simply because he seemed to have a plan in place already, I was surprised to see his name come up, so.
they were already
Yeah.
functioning before him. The three members worked together, they were all appointed together, and they have been functioning for
And they're
well
still
over
going to
6
be
months.
there, so he's the
Yes.
fourth.
Yes, he's the fourth.
Okay.
And I think there's one more spot.
Okay, so there's 5. Okay, good. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to appoint Justin Cobb to Energy Advisory Committee.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Good, all right. All right, Jane, she's so nervous.
She's nervous.
Calm down, it's all right. This isn't the Inquisition. You've already been through that. All right, so our last appointment for the evening, and this is why I had the appointment a little bit early, so that if anybody had any questions, is for Jane Sakowitz for the Personnel Director position. As we know, Raisa left and went off to what she feels were greener pastures, off heading east. And I'm sorry, I will ignore that. I'm sorry, I didn't turn it off. So, well, anyways, I'm bad to the bone, whatever. So, anyways, the mayor asked me if I would sit in on the last two interviews that she had for the last two people that she had in for this position, and Jane happened to be one of them. And of course, ultimately, the decision was the mayor's. She just had a couple of us in there just to kind of, fill things out a little bit. And so all my questions about Jane have pretty much been answered because I did sit in on the interview with her on the last interview. I asked Jane to bring her resume And I know that it's short notice, but you've all received a copy of it. And I'll give the rest of them to the rest of the city councilors upstairs when we get up there. So I guess what I want to do now is just kind of open it up. If you have any questions, or if JP or if Dan of Jane, and if you just want to take it a little bit on the informal side, I'd be happy with that. So.
I think I would like to hear a little bit more from Karen why Jane appealed as a candidate to you, and then Jane also talked to you, but because I wasn't part of that meeting.
Well, we interviewed, Joy wasn't available for all the interviews, but we did interview, we had an interview process, and this interview process was really with the finance team. We had our city auditor, Val, and Melissa, and myself, and then Joy. I wasn't in on all of them, nor was Joy. So I think when we interviewed the candidates, what I was, we talked earlier about what we're looking for in this position, and Jane had all the strengths of exactly what we're looking for. We have some things in the city that, we definitely work very, very close with the personnel office, so that was almost like another piece to our puzzle. So we all work very well together, and Jane is just a perfect fit at that. She's the type of person, it was very evident in the interviews and in discussing, with her last employers, she's the type of person, it doesn't matter how many hours it takes in a day, her job is, she will complete the task. She's not somebody that, when the 5 o'clock bell rings, she's the type of person, like I refer to it, roll up your sleeves and dig in. And that's what we need. We need somebody that is dedicated and works as a team and communicates well with us and all of the employees. And she has extensive legal background, and which is very helpful in negotiating contracts and that type of thing. And also in policies. She's very, very detail oriented. And we have, as any city does, we have many policies, and we would love to start, reviewing them, updating things that need to be updated. And that's another one of her specialties. So, and I can tell you firsthand, I did a temporary appointment, and this is actually Jane's she's been here 2.5 weeks, and it has just been amazing. The burden that she has, I believe, taken off my shoulders, and I can certainly speak for Melissa, it's just great. Day one, what can I do? What do you need? How can I help? That is just, to me, the employee that we're looking for. And very respectful, fits in, it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be in your job description. So, all those things came through in the interview. Conscientious is putting it mildly. So, I hope that answers your questions.
It does. I need a minute to be able to look over this.
Okay. JP?
I certainly would like to be able to review the resume. It certainly looks great. I noticed a lot of things regarding legal work, extensive paralegal work over at several different organizations. So I'd like to be able to just review it. I don't have any specific questions at the moment.
I'll just say I've actually met Jane. She was before CPA committee. She was before finance committee, and always was prepared. Always was, someone who, what you were asked, you certainly were forthcoming, at least to the board. I think so. I appreciate all that. I know, in looking at your thing, I know the Easthampton Housing Authority is in fact a quasi-separate agency from the city.
It is a separate. It's not quasi.
So it is
It's a state.
It's a quasi-state.
So,
Because we don't.
But it's quasi-state, which means they're self-sufficient,
Right.
but it's not part of the city at all.
right, I knew that.
Yeah.
Right, So my question, I guess, is that I don't know what you have for staff there, but as I would assume you don't have a large staff. Maybe.
There's one office person plus myself,
Okay.
and then there's 3, we just increased to 3 maintenance people this year.
So you would have to, besides being the director and that, I assume you would have had the human resource duties
Yes.
as part of that?
Yes, open enrollment, I was responsible for the hiring of the new maintenance staff. We had 1 retire, we hired 2 more, 1 to replace 1 additional. I've done discipline for the maintenance staff. I've done reviews, annual reviews, so it's all of the general duties.
And then my final thing, and I don't mean this in any way other than that, because I've been on the other side, is you had the one with the veterans and the flags when you were down there, and, you know, I learned a long time ago when you read the newspaper, you don't always get because I've been on the other side, you don't always get the whole story. But I just wonder if you had any comments about that. In other words, I guess, because as human resource director, I guess I look at that position of while you work for the mayor and an administrator, you also kind of are the liaison to the employees too. So you have to have that functioning of both sides. So I guess if you just wanted to, I wanted to kind of throw it out there for you to answer. So
When I came on board at the Housing Authority, I sat down with the board and asked, what do you want me to focus on? And they said they had gotten heard rumors that all the tenants weren't being treated equally. Some had rules applied to them, some didn't. They asked me to update the policies and enforce the rules and the provisions of the lease. So I did that with the board's backing, and it was not new rules. They were in effect, just not enforced by prior directors. And the board was happy with the results. Most of the tenants were happy with the results. As I say, the board is happy. I'm still there. So it's an ongoing process. But it's just, I believe that you have to treat everybody the same. You know, it's got to be fair. What the paper said about the flags was not true. We didn't say they couldn't have flags. The leases say they can't mount anything to the exterior of the buildings. Well, we had people that were stapling and nailing and drilling into 50, 60-year-old structures, which were starting to create problems. So the board wanted it enforced, so that's where that came into be. But it was solved. I went out, got clearance from the Department of Housing to mount identical flag brackets at every unit. We went out the next day, bought the flag brackets. The next 2 days, the entire maintenance staff spent installing all the flag brackets, and everyone. I'd say there's probably 4 people tops at each development that put a flag up. Yeah, so it's a matter of following the rules, but trying to find a solution that's going to make everybody happy.
I appreciate your comment. And then just as a aside, would you, if you assume you are appointed, would you stay? You're not going to stay with housing, or you're?
I told them I would help them out until
they have a replacement.
they found
sort of like reversed, right?
So it's a matter of I go in for a couple hours at night or an hour at night, and then I'm there on Friday when I'm not here.
No, thank you.
And I think that's interesting, and thanks for bringing that up. And when that problem was rectified, it was Jane's outreach to Boston that rectified that situation. And I thought it was very interesting, as you said, that was left out of the media and out of the article, which you're certainly well aware of. The other thing I wanted to say is I have met personally with 2 of the directors, Father Bill Hamilton and Nancy Flavin, who are devastated that she is leaving. They really are. She has gracefully offered to stay and help out while they replace somebody. They don't want to replace her. So she comes with very, very, very high recommendations. And that is a personal, that is a conversation with me and them directly, and also the staff, the maintenance department, all of them, not one of them wants her to go. So,
And I'm going to add to that, I had Ed stop by my house the other day. He's on the board, he's on the board too. And Ed also kind of whined to me like, "Oh, you stole her." And
Right.
I'm
Not too happy
sorry,
with
but
me.
oh well.
I'll take the heat on that one there. Not too happy with me.
So, but Ed did say that she handles things very, very fairly, very calm, and yeah. So she's been a very good director for them down there. So, but I'm mostly impressed with the paralegal because we all know that when you get into human resources and personnel matters, it's all legal, and you're dealing with contracts, and you're dealing with unions, and you're dealing with lawyers. And with Jane's background in the legal as a paralegal and with the background there, I'm sure she has lots of resources. She knows how to get to. She knows how to find the answers to the things that she needs to get answers to, and I have no doubt that she's going to work very well with our attorneys that we have working for the city on our behalf. So
The other past life that is not on my resume is while I lived in California, I was employed by a hazardous material cleanup company, and I was responsible for the workers' comp and the accident investigations.
excellent, because that could get out of control really quickly too, workman's comp and things like that. So
And as you know, that's in Jane's department.
it is, yes, it is. All of the medical, all of the insurances, yep.
So I have another question. Both of you seem to have a real strength in the details, and I think that's really great for a municipality to have that many detail-oriented people. One of the side effects that can be is that because you both have very similar styles, that could be seen as you being close friends. And I'm wondering how your interaction with the employees who may have an issue, particularly with the mayor, how you would mediate that. And I know that's really a difficult question to answer, but that is something that I want to make sure gets addressed.
I always try to have a good rapport with my boss or supervisor. And all that aside, my job is to represent the employees, to find the answers for their questions, to try to solve their problems. It may come to a few meetings, it may come where we can settle it right away. But the bottom line is, it's applying the policies and the practices of the city and trying to find a solution that's going to work for everyone.
And I can answer to that too. We have completely different personalities, very different,
No,
very, very different.
Personality wasn't,
Right,
but
the detail,
work
right.
strengths.
The details. And I can tell you that the past director, as you know, is Risa. She's a very good personal friend of mine. She was here for 14 years. And to me, that is not a negative. Being, I kind of consider them work friendships that you have. Just make your work environment a better place to work where you're all on the same team. And that's how I function. And the same thing with Melissa. Melissa and I work very closely, as do, some of the key departments. And I can tell you just these 2.5 weeks, there's offices that have not been as involved before and are now. They're in her office, she's been very welcomed and very well taken.
And I'm gonna just pass this along. I know that Melissa and Karen have two totally different personalities, but I know that they're also friends. But I also know that if Melissa wants to stand her ground, she has no problem going in and standing her ground with the mayor.
And the mayor has.
And the mayor respects that.
And she also has no problem telling me when to sit down.
And so that's
Right.
one of those things that I really don't have a whole lot of concerns about, because when you're working with a strong personality like these,
Right.
Melissa and Karen, I would have had more of it. I would have had that question for Karen and Melissa. more than the mediator sitting at the
And
table.
I think because we're strong personalities and very professional, that we're also very respectful. And the thing is, especially with Jane's position in personnel, my number one concern is for the employees and the residents of the city. So I have the same interest at heart. So I don't see where, if an employee was upset with me, how that it would probably be if they were upset with a grievance, something like that, which are usually cut and dried in their contracts, or a personnel issue, which isn't me to begin with. And even though we have very strong personalities, we all know what our specialties are.
Right.
And we respect that about each other. So, we value our opinions and constantly bounce things off each other, because the more input you get, the better.
All friendships aside, it is my profession. That's, it's a career for me. It's not just where I go to collect a paycheck. I'm here for the job, and my job is to represent the employees.
So, Councilor McCoy, I know you stepped in a little bit late, but that's okay. Just to bring you up to speed, we went through Barbara's appointment and we voted 2-0 to move that along. And as well as the other three, Ashley Krause, James Valancourt, and Justin. So we waiting for you to come.
Okay.
So that we kind of saved Jane for last. So you kind of came in at the beginning of this
And I had done a little
discussion.
research on my own.
I opened it up saying that we were going to kind of keep this informal because poor girl here is very nervous about meeting with us. I don't know why she would want to do that. I mean, we're a pretty friendly group for the most part. But if you have any specific questions or whatever that you would like to ask.
Actually, it's funny because most of the things that I was thinking about were kind of addressed since I've come in, so that was kind of handy.
Okay. All right. So, does anybody have any other? Have you had? You look like you're stewing on something, JP.
Just taking it all in. Taking it all in.
Okay.
In enjoying the answer that you had about how you handled the flag issue. That was, we really haven't met, I don't think.
I don't think so.
And that's very interesting to hear. I think it was a good way you resolved that particular issue. There'll be a lot of issues in personnel, as opposed from an executive directorship, which I guess you held for how long?
9 months,
9 months.
and I'm going.
And still going.
Long enough to get burned.
You were really in charge of an organization. And being a personnel director, I think, is kind of like being in charge of a piece of an organization, a big piece of an organization, an executive level. I didn't notice other actual specific personnel work. And I wonder if you, or the mayor, or both, you first perhaps could address that?
At
that
the
issue?
Housing Authority,
Yeah.
mainly, recently. And I was office manager at a law firm, which had 5 staff members that I was responsible for. So I dealt with it there as well, on a daily basis, with the training, hiring, firing, and general, reviews, and making sure their schedule was kept, and making sure that the work was properly done. So it was an ongoing, especially with the lower levels of file clerks and typists. It was the in and out, so there was a lot of hiring and trying to keep people in and keep them happy.
And I think with Melissa and I believe you too, Joy, discussed too, is what people don't realize is, an HR director, everywhere you work doesn't have one. So if you work in a smaller office, you are the HR director. Everything still has to get done. They just don't have that particular position in place. And our previous HR director came to us as an assistant from another community. So, and I don't think it's out of line to say that we're all well aware that our wages are not comparable with the other communities, and so for different directors, it was it was a career move for our past director, So,
Yeah, Melissa?
Jane's nervous, I forgot to mention that she did take specific courses in this as part of her education. So it's not like it was something that's, a new whim for her. It was something that she's been interested in because it had been part of her, part of her responsibilities.
I am currently working on and hope to be certified by the end of the year in human resources.
Oh, excellent.
but this was something that she was working on prior to applying for this
Awesome.
position. So,
Awesome.
and her education is very, very, very impressive.
Yep.
What does that certification entail? And I'm familiar with the assessor's certifications in some of the other departments. I don't know much about human
It's basically
resources.
professional human resource. You're tested on different areas of human resources and standard practices, and once you get your certification, it's the typical take X number of continuing ed units in any year to maintain your certification.
Is it, where are the courses?
It's basically you have to have a certain experience in education and/or education, and then it's on your own studying unless you want to go to seminars, and you take the test at the Sylvan type testing center, and then you get the results and go from there.
And she's already was that even before you got here? Signed up to be part of the, what is it, the MMPA?
Yeah, the Massachusetts
Right, because
Association
we have the Mass Municipal Association, the Mass Mayors Association, and they have the Mass Personnel Association. So she's already has her contacts on that and actually scheduled for memberships and the next 2 meetings. So she's just...
Well, you're welcome. All right, so I want to move, I'll entertain a motion to move forward to City Council.
Okay. Before we do that, I'm glad you were able to be here and talk it over in person. It's always helpful. It's helpful to meet someone in person, particularly. There are a lot of people who you will be interacting with, so it's a lot to do within one meeting and ask all the questions, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And that's all I have to say about it.
Well, I will make a motion to accept Jane Sikowitz as recommended her appointment as personnel director.
And I will second that motion. All in favor? Aye. All right. Not welcome aboard yet. We got 6 more to bring on board, but I don't think that's going to be too hard to do, considering 5 of us are sitting here in the room right now. Yeah.
We're upstairs.
Yeah, so, all right.
And I guess, thank you very much. But I wanted to ask, do you want me to, when you are
City
doing the
council?
appointment? Yes, I mean, I definitely was going to city council anyway, but I'll
Yeah,
wait
no,
until you
before-
want my comments.
Yeah,
you know?
before I make a motion or anything, I'll ask that,
Right.
that you come up.
Okay,
And I'm gonna hand these out to the rest of the counselors, and I'm gonna ask that, yes.
Just as a procedure, are you going to do Jane and Barbara as them separately, and
Yes.
the other 3?
Yes. Yeah, I'll do Barbara separate, and then I'll do the other 3 separate, and then but I'll probably put Jane at the top.
Right.
And do Jane first so that I can,
Right, so I won't speak about it unless you
right,
have
well,
any
when
questions.
it comes to appointment subcommittee, I'm gonna
Okay.
give our report, and then I'm gonna ask that the mayor come up and talk about the reasons why
Perfect.
you selected Jane over the rest of the candidates, and so that's appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good, yeah, okay. All right then.
Thank you very much.
We don't fight normally.
We shut that off here?
Thank you.
I'll leave you to the stacking of the
Is
chairs.
that off?
I'll file agreements, Karen, I'll file agreements against you.
What's that
What's
Is that
up?
off?
I've never been in this room that long, so I wouldn't know.
No, I don't believe so. Green means, no, we just went back to red.
So are these for you?
Red is on, red is
I think they're
on.
called mulberries. They grow in our back.